Yo, what's up? Okay, so in this video, I wanted to talk on some things that came to my mind. And, off the bat, a few things come to my mind, and that is self-belief. What else? What was the other thing? I had two other things in my mind. Self-belief, pushing yourself to your limits, and then being detached from outcome. Because you have to believe in yourself, and then you got to push yourself to your limits, and then you got to be detached from the outcome. Because if you're not detached from the outcome, when you push yourself to that limit or a certain limit, or like in bodybuilding they call it plateau, when you plateau, meaning that you can't really gain any more muscle. In this case, you can't gain any more knowledge or any more skills. You've probably reached your peak. It might appear that way, right? But you just have to tweak things after that. You have to make some tweaks. Like in bodybuilding, you have to make some tweaks. Once you reach that plateau, you have to either, increase calorie. You have to increase calories, increase the amount of weight that you're lifting, or the amount of reps that you're doing, right? So it's the same way when it comes to your mind. Obviously, when it comes to other things in your life, when it comes to skills that you're trying to perfect, right? If you don't try something different when it comes to your skills, for example, when it comes to writing, or writing raps, writing rhymes, being a lyricist, if you have a particular style, or you're really good at one thing, like rhyming words, then you might have to have a different approach when you start to realize that you're rhyming a lot of words, but it's kind of corny, all right? Or it doesn't really have that much depth to it in meaning. Or you're rhyming a lot of words about stupid topics that have, lack substance or whatever, where things are repetitive. You've heard this before, stuff like that. When you reach that point, then, it won't hurt to like study other rappers and stuff, not to really be, look, I understand, because I relate to this a lot, having the mentality of being a pioneer when it comes to whatever you do. Or, you like to be original. You don't necessarily need to be groundbreaking, but your mentality naturally gravitates towards being original, and you just don't want to sound like anybody else. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's good, because you don't want to be a follower. That's part of being a leader. It's like, fuck it. People might, label it as narcissistic or any other stupid stuff, right? But at the end of the day, you can't really focus on all that, right? You have to be able to constructively criticize yourself, and that requires detachment, right? You could look at somebody else's work and compare, like, oh my gosh, look, this is much higher level because it's more layered. It shows like a high IQ, and here I am rapping like a 10-year-old or something. Just to paint a picture, right? So you look at that, and then you're like, okay, how can I just basically bump up my expression? Take it to the next level. It's like going from playing checkers to chess. You go from checkers, and then you start playing chess, and you kind of suck at chess at first, and then later on you're a great chess player, right? So the thing is this, though, you might have, along your way, you might have fucking had so much confidence, but you were actually whack, and then you put yourself out there, and then you got feedback, and then maybe somebody laughed. People might have laughed, and you might have failed at something, and blah blah blah. But that shouldn't have actually stopped you from trying more. you know if you were detached from the outcome, then you could have just taken that feedback as not personal. You could listen to the feedback and be able to differentiate a hater or somebody who just doesn't have understanding of different types of styles, and all this. But you can't be automatically thinking somebody's just, that everybody is either hating or that they don't understand rhyme or different styles. You have to look at things from all these different angles, and then you can test it. You could be like, and obviously a lot of times it's hard to actually know what level you're on, because a lot of times we don't really want to compare it. We don't really want to go to a high level lyricist, or one of those judges, people that can really judge your work, and they're probably uh, professionals at doing that kind of stuff, and they've have experience with judging lyrics, right? A lot of times we don't want to go all the way over there, right? And sometimes it is wise not to, because you could go over there and then they could, even if they criticize you in the most nicest way, you might take it as if it's fucking Simon from American Idol, you know, judging your work, and then it just breaks you, and you just kind of give up, and that's the worst thing ever. So you have to know yourself, and you have to be wise and work at your own pace, and don't let anybody else try to speed you up or slow you down, right? um, I don't know if I'm sounding contradicting right now, but I'm really trying to correct. I'm looking at all the flaws in the things that I'm saying here, because it's important to look at things from all these different angles. That way you don't lead you or anybody else astray, right? That's my thought process. And here's another thing, right? When it comes to having confidence in your work, you need to have confidence in your work, and or confidence in whatever you do. If you're a fighter, you got to have confidence, right? There are fighters out there. We just had a fight. I'm not going to name the fighters, but in boxing, you sometimes have two confident fighters, and then there's one that's just, ends up being exposed as, kind of a hype job, or, wasn't really that good. Just kind of gets completely outclassed by the other, right? And, people that are watching it are like, that's what he gets. He's getting humbled, right? But if you were that person that got outclassed like that, you just have to be detached from what they're saying about you. And you have to be able to put your ego aside, as hard as it may be. Eventually, that's what you're going to have to do if you want to continue. And if you don't want to fucking, you know, if you don't want to, if you want to be a champion, man, you have to be able to take an L no matter how fucking bad it is, right? This is my opinion, and I feel like this is probably the mentality of a champion is you know, you make a mistake and then you become exposed or whatever in some way, you know, get outclassed, whatever the case may be. If you're really a champion, I believe that you can fucking look at all the flaws, dissect yourself truly, and bounce back. This is what I believe, man. You know, this is what I believe, but obviously it might be different when it comes to the actual fight, but we have seen this as well. People have shown themselves to be able to bounce back, and others haven't, right? And look, at the end of the day, when it's time to hang something up, it's okay to hang something up. If you gotta hang up the gloves, hang up the the pen, you throw it away or whatever, you could throw it away. But you gotta give it your all. You gotta make sure that you really have given it your all. That's the thing. You realize that I give it my all. Okay, I give it my all. But is my worth really based on that? Does that really give me my worth? As if I'm good at this or that. You know what I mean? Because look, at the end of the day, we all came here. We chose to come here. We chose our challenges. This is my mentality, at least. Some people believe that we're kind of just placed here unfairly, just born into this shit, you know. And, there's some positives to thinking like that, to just being completely logical and realistic, living in complete realism, just in the world. Like, there's nothing that proves God exists or anything outside of this world exists. People are skeptics to the absolute core, and that keeps them living in a safe, realistic bubble where they don't ever really push their limits because they feel they understand who they are, right? But I'm trying to stay on topic here, man. It's just, I'm gonna use those words again. What was it? Self-belief, pushing yourself to your own limits, and being detached from outcome, right? To push yourself to those limits means to, in my honest opinion, when it comes to the mind, you have to feed your mind these beliefs that are indestructible and detached, because ultimately that at the end it doesn't even matter. It's just about having fun and actually pushing yourself to your limits, mentally, physically, whatever, without breaking yourself down. You get to the place where you're like, look, I'm doing it. This is my choice. I'm here to reach my personal limit. And then once I reach my limit, be happy with it, that I've gave it my all, that I've tried my best. And then that's the end of the chapter, of that chapter. Then you start a whole new chapter. with a whole new thing. You might have been living that chapter was all about grind mode and hustle mode, or that chapter was all about being a tough guy, or the chapter was all about being this or that, right? But now that chapter's over. And now you could open a chapter of maybe just relaxing, having a good time, just relaxing. Being at peace with yourself, right? But not living in regret, because you know you gave it your all and you tried different things. And you hang up those gloves, or you hang up whatever the hell skill it is that you were pursuing and that you wanted to, you hang it up and you're at peace with it. But don't hang them up without even trying. That, don't hang it up without even trying. Come on. And to be honest, you could find glory too. That's amazing too. That's an amazing experience. To be groundbreaking in some area, that's awesome. To be a pioneer, to be exceptional, or to just be effective at your craft or whatever the hell it is that you do. But you can't reach that kind of stuff if you just give up, or if you just don't try, you just give up before you even start. If you keep believing in shit like, oh no, you were doomed from the start, comparing yourself physically to somebody else or intellectually to somebody else, but you might have creativity, or you compare yourself creatively to somebody else, but you might have intelligence, might have the ability to be calm under pressure while everybody else is being frantic, right? You might have the ability to just stay focused on things you might have resilience that other people with talent, don't have. They just have natural ability and they just take it all for granted, right? So there's always something that you can do. Just the very energy of being resilient is inspiring. It's like, wow, look, but it's funny. Look, I've seen some funny stories too, right? Like this one guy who fucking had a boxing record of like 3 wins, 100 losses or some shit like that, but he just doesn't stop fighting. He has all the heart in the world, but probably shouldn't do it anymore. 3 fights, 100 losses. It's pretty crazy. So maybe in that case, no, it's just like you've had enough. But if you're at least somewhat decent at a certain, art or skill or talent, you have some sort of, then reach its peak. And you can at least hang with some people. You at least got some skill to show. That's good. You know what I mean? But all right, man, it's getting kind of late. This fucking car just pulled up. Oh, and look, here's another thing too. All right, now I'll make a different video on that. I might re-look at this, remake. But yeah, peace out.